Awesome. And I invite everyone also, as I'm introducing myself, to please, if you wouldn't mind just adding your name, maybe your organization in the chat as a way to introduce ourselves. We have a little bit of a larger group joining us today, which is awesome. So we won't have time to go around the whole room, which I would normally love to do if we had a smaller group. To welcome again, my name is Hannah Locke. I'm the Prenatal to 5 Innovation Support Strategy Program Manager at Best Starts for Kids. Thank you for joining today's open house session focused on the Prenatal to 5 Innovation Fund. I'm joined today with co-facilitators Nasser Osman and Alessandra Pollack. I don't know if you want to wave. They'll be supporting our discussion today as well as we share out about this upcoming opportunity with Best Starts for Kids. Awesome, and folks keep coming in. Yes, I invite you to share your name and organization in the chat. I also want to acknowledge that there was a little bit of a scheduling error. And so if you didn't notice, there's lots of prenatal to 5 things to hop into and learn about today. And we did see that there's an overlap with the other session that starts at 2. So we're going to have sort of a soft close at 2 for folks who did want to join the other session that starts at 2. So that is okay if you're planning to join that other one. We'll kind of pause, and then if folks did want to stay for more of the connection time and kind of idea creation, we'll stay on until 2:30 if there's others that are interested in doing so. But we also want to let folks have an opportunity to join the other session. Okay. With that, we'll go ahead and get started. Laura, yes, we're recording today's sessions. All the sessions will be recorded and shared back out on the blog. Okay, just a quick overview of our time together today. We'll have an opportunity to do a little bit of a creative check-in with you all after our introductions. I'll give a little bit of grounding. It looked like from the registration that many of you are connected to already or familiar with Best Starts for Kids, but we'll do a brief overview as well as kind of an introduction to the Prenatal to 5 Innovation Support Strategy and kind of grounding in our strategy before jumping into the more specifics of the Innovation Fund and kind of the scope of work that we wanted to share out for that opportunity. And then some more details around the RFP itself to follow, as well as, of course, some time for questions and any feedback that you have. All right. So this opportunity is about innovation, and we wanted to start off by encouraging some playfulness, creativity, and an opportunity to stretch your imagination. So as a form of a check-in question, we have a little bit of an innovation challenge for you. And our question is, how might you use a sheet of paper for something besides writing? So we're gonna, before either unmuting or putting anything in the chat, this is gonna be a chat waterfall. And we also, if you have paper close by and want to grab a piece, we invite you to make this a more hands-on experience. And we're going to kind of take about 30 seconds, so not long, to jump in with some ideation or design creation of your own. So as you think about this question, how might you use a sheet of paper for something besides writing? Once you have your idea, you can type it into the chat, but don't click send yet. And then at the end of our 30 seconds, once everybody has had a time to think imaginatively, we will all click send together. This is a fun little way to start off our time together. So I will stop talking and give you your 30 seconds. Okay, do folks feel ready? Thumbs up. Everybody got something written in? Okay. I'll go ahead and release the waterfall. Go ahead and click send. Oh, that comes really fast. A fan covering windows, dustpan, airplane, pop-up card. If it was anybody, so we also wanted to invite if anybody did grab an actual piece of paper and created something, you did above and beyond. But if you have something that you want to actually share on camera, we welcome that as well. I can't see everybody, unfortunately, but that would be awesome too. Wait for snacks. Also, if you didn't get to lunch yet, that reminds me, feel free to have food with you, a ball to play with kids. Awesome. Okay, so thanks for going along with that kind of a little bit more fun way to get us started. Because really we're going to ground this around innovation. And so a lot of that is design and kind of thinking outside of the box beyond what we know currently and stretching our imagination. So thanks for sharing with us. All right. So now just to give us some grounding within Best Starts for Kids. As you hopefully know, this is sort of our overarching mission statement for Best Starts for Kids, or vision, is happy, healthy, safe, and thriving. So seeing that babies are born healthy, kids thrive, and young people grow up to be happy, healthy, and successful adults. And Best Starts for Kids has several different strategy areas. This work here for the Prenatal to 5 Innovation Support Strategy fits under investing early, which is a large focus of this Best Starts for Kids levy, to give us some grounding of where this strategy comes in. And to break it down a little bit further, these are a list of most, if not all, of the Prenatal to 5 strategies that touch around these areas. There are several that are really focused on providing direct services. So the open house session to follow this one dives into several areas there. And then there are several that internally we call integration or other strategies that touch upon the work related to Prenatal to 5, and innovation supports is one of those. So that we provide capacity building supports both to current Best Starts for Kids partners that are sort of up above providing those direct services, as well as in the community, really focusing in on program design and development at some early critical phases. And this, I think we will share back the slide deck. This has a lot of meat on it, but this is just a general overview of the Prenatal to 5 strategy. So again, it's a capacity building strategy, really focusing on just supporting early on while programs designed for and by community are in sort of their early creation phase. We provide workshops and one-on-one supports, to name a few of the things that we do. And Nessa and Alessandra are part of our consultant team that helps to provide those supports to community-based organizations. So to transition a little bit further into the Prenatal to 5 Innovation Fund, the what of this body of work is really to seek to increase our collective capacity to build up innovative community-driven approaches that center BIPOC families and other marginalized communities within King County. And we seek community leaders to design, develop, pilot, and build the potential of innovative anti-racist approaches. So again, the focus of this strategy is one around innovation and community design, and then two around building capacity. So this is a good sort of a cross alignment of those two pieces, building capacity as well as giving space for innovation and community design to really address critical needs in our community. And here is where I wanted to kind of pause and give acknowledgement to sort of the point in time that we're all joining together today. So in this moment, we know that families and communities are directly impacted by executive actions at the federal level, violence unfolding locally and globally, economic uncertainty, heightened health risks, and climate crisis, just to name a few. So um, moving forward in like this exciting opportunity, of course, I need to offer that space to just really ground in the space that we're currently feeling. And also acknowledging while BIPOC communities are not unfamiliar with these attacks to well-being that are rooted in and intensified as a result of systemic oppression. Many of us are experiencing real stress and chaos of just kind of the environment and the climate of today. So um, this this response, this opportunity is intended and hopeful to be a response to some of that that we're all sitting within today. So before kind of jumping in around this, wanted to really ground that kind of reality that we're all in prior to kind of setting up this opportunity. And so, yes, this fund really seeks to offer one way to act from where we are sitting today. So that is the what. And then I also, the who is really important as we think about the intention of the innovation support strategy and community design work. So really the focus of this work is that innovation and community design programs, approaches, policy change is coming from community leaders who are really drawing from the wisdom and deep understanding of connection to knowledge, history, language, cultural practices, and lived experiences of their communities. So really folks that are reflective of designing with and for community to be coming up with these innovative solutions. So from there, that is sort of the overall arching goal of the Innovation Fund. There's a lot more specifics that we have to share, and Nessa is going to kind of help us learn a little bit more about what that could look like, and in terms of kind of giving a little bit more detail of where the funding might support activities.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. So to start us off, we wanted to start off with this challenge and pose this question for us to brainstorm together. We feel free to either share once I share the prompt questions that we have about how might we tackle this challenge, and then or you could put it in the chat. I think is what we said. We could do the next prompt. So this is a challenge. If King County families have been impacted by severe heat waves in the past several years. So to give a little bit of context, if you were able to take this challenge on within your community, how might the challenge centered community more specifically? What would you need defined to start innovating? And then these are the two questions. How might this, excuse me, challenge impact your community? And then I forgot if we said we were going to pause, but maybe not. And then the second part of that question is, if you were given focused time and resources to respond to this challenge, what might you do? We can go ahead. I think we're going to spend about like 10 minutes going over this and discussing potential ways that we can look at this challenge by answering these two questions. Anybody have a question first, maybe before we start? Any clarification needed?
I just was, I don't remember if it was King County or the city of Seattle, one summer, um, when there was a lot of smoke going on from the fires. And there was an offering, something similar of air purifiers, right? And so we could use that model and it's so simple, but if we had so many X amount of AC units, we could do that. And also like look, offer like someone to come in to like look at their installation around their windows, those types of things to see if there was a way their apartment or house could be better insulated.
Thank you so much, Vanessa, for sharing. Laura wrote in the chat, I'm in a communal setting. Oh, sorry. That was not the answer to the question. Sorry. Got ahead of myself. Someone else wrote. Heat wave can cause increased sickness of pregnant people, make the internal body temperature, cause fatal problems depending on gestation, cause fetal demise. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing, Renita.
Also, like thinking about, I'm in the second part of the question. I know, not the first part, but teaching families how to kind of evaluate their home about what they can do, just so someone's not just coming in and doing it for you, but like giving them that power of knowledge and that autonomy is really powerful. Because with any of these services that we provide, it's great, but what happens when they graduate, right? And so graduate or move on, whatever you want to call it.
Absolutely. And then they can like they feel empowered, so then therefore they can go share that back with their other community members, people that they're connected to.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Provide heat safety education in multiple languages. Maybe distribute cooling supplies like fans, water, cooling towels. Yes, all very much needed supplies. Prevention, Jamie wrote heat stroke prevention, sharing cooling areas and potentially disrupting cooling supplies, distributing cooling supplies. I feel like education goes a long way, Renita. Oh yeah, Mohammed, offering community county facilities with AC units for CBOs to host activities. That is very important. It would go a long way. As we know, people don't have access to ACs in their homes. It's a lot of great feedback, guys. A lot of great brainstorming. Plant trees, gardens, and greenery around houses and apartment blocks. Yes, for some much needed shade and to be outside. Yuen, thank you. Yes, like a place where communities can come together, Laura, for like to have cooling activities, a lot of shade. Awesome. Cindy, educate, resource sharing, and prevent planning. Yes.
How about like providing, there's like the city of Seattle um, community places where they have pools, but maybe like organizing like a family, event, and just, something that they can stay cooled off, bring your kids, bring your aunties, bring your grandmas.
Yes. That would be so awesome. They have some more access to those. That would be really cool. chat. Taylor wrote language barriers on communicating with people, making sure to be able to reach everyone about what's going on and providing supplies and resources to help them. Yes, absolutely, because that's a huge barrier. Everyone should be able to receive information. Anybody else? Otherwise, can move on to the next section. Thank you all for sharing all of these great ideas. That was fun.
Can tell there's a bunch of program folks because everyone gave such really concrete, good ideas for taking action. And I think so next, Alessandra is going to walk through, again, some more concrete examples, really focused around sort of this, this idea of giving space and resources to kind of explore, do just what you all did right here, kind of come up with ideas and brainstorming possible solutions or responses, and what that could look like on how, in terms of innovation funds, how we could support these types of activities. So I think it was the next, just for the purposes of the example to continue to walk through. I'll put up some just a little bit more context. Thank you for those
Oh,
things.
sorry, Hannah. I forgot that part.
Thanks, Hannah. Thanks, Nazra. And thanks to all of you for being here today. It's really lovely to be with you and see some familiar names and faces as well as some new ones. So have the honor or privilege of talking about a few examples of how the Innovation Fund could be used in order to kind of explore these questions about how a particular challenge might affect your community and what kinds of things might be helpful to meet that moment. So one thing that it could be covered under the Innovation Fund would be partnership building. And we define that as developing strong trust-based partnerships and collaboration to really leverage unique and diverse perspectives and strengths and respond collectively to complex needs. We know that many of you are in the process of developing partnerships or like ongoing, thinking about partnerships. So I'm curious if anyone has any examples or any ideas about how with this example of families facing extreme heat, how a partnership building approach might be useful. And again, as Najra said earlier, you can feel free to share that in the chat or just unmute and jump in. And before we get started, I did want to just mention a couple of things from your earlier examples that I really appreciated. One was that some of the ideas are really combining thinking about what the challenge is and how to respond. And I think many of our kind of Innovation Fund examples here also include that kind of connection. So any thoughts on sort of how you might do partnership building work around supporting families who may experience extreme heat?
Hi, Alessandra. I think the most important one is to use the resources we have available to us, our local partners, other community-based organizations, raise the situation and try to make like a collaborative effort. And then uh, also prepare to listen to the community, what you need us to do, how we like to receive support and help. I think that's the most important one for me. And then you build on that.
Yeah, there were some threats from the earlier challenge that we presented. And city was noted, county, landlords, were all mentioned as possible partners to build partnership. And then other folks, EON wrote, working with low-income landlords to look for funding and implementing programs to increase property values and cooling. Absolutely. Taylor wrote, funding to help share more resources, be able to serve more people through collaboration. Absolutely.
Yeah, and what the she just said, we kind of skipped that part on the first slide, like asking community, what do they need? How would they like to see this problem solved? That's why it's called community design, right? Like I think all of us on this call have a community designed home-based service contract. So thank you for calling that out.
Thank you for sharing. I see a few more responses. Collabs with KCPH and CHW teams, focused on partnerships with community cooling centers, bridging building for community programs. It's strong connecting to communities, to distribute supplies across communities. Collaborate with other organizations to learn from each other what has already been tried, successes and challenges in those attempts. Absolutely. I think that's where collaboration is key. Can learn from past experiences. And then echoing again, working with the city and county. Yes.
I was just thinking too, like to like support small business, like partnering with them, like they might donate, a bunch of units and they get I don't know, would they get a tax deductible bonus of that, of those donations?
Great incentive. I see Mohammed wrote, partnering with outdoor groups to develop a list of heat-friendly trails, parks, park with tree covering to use it as an opportunity to take kids outside while remaining cool. Ooh, that sounds fun. That sounds nice. Lots of shade.
These are such great ideas, and they really show how some of these examples that we're giving are a little bit, they're kind of overlapping in some ways. But I think someone mentioned already the next example that we were going to go to, and that's community engagement and listening. So these are activities focused on deepening connection and understanding in the community, and things that many of you all are already experts on, and again is a real bedrock and foundation of the work that the Innovation Fund supports. There are many different ways to listen to and engage with community, and I'm curious if you all want to share a few of those either in the chat or aloud.
People always come to events if there's food and gas carts.
Yes.
And just like visiting, we all know each other. And it's like a reunion, like, oh, your kid's so big. Last time I saw you, baby wasn't walking yet. So it's a really great opportunity to bring us together.
Absolutely. I see Owen wrote listening groups, surveys. Those are great ways to and connection. I see surveys again. Surveys at the end of each session and change the curriculum based on that. Absolutely, using the feedback to kind of change it. Jamie wrote community cafes, events, hosted meal spaces, incentivized surveys. Yes. Sharing the feedback with communities. I agree. Cynthia, thank you. Community focus groups with ambassadors from different religious and linguistic groups. That is yes, much needed. Open session hybrid option, absolutely, as more people are utilizing virtual world.
These are such great examples, and I love that they include really working with community as a partner. So supporting incentives, food, community building, and then, you know, Sundus was saying bringing the information back to people is also really important. Some of the other examples that we have come up with include doing things like focus groups with families with young children to understand what their experiences are like during extreme heat, or completing a participatory research project where families document their thoughts, feelings, and behaviors during extreme heat waves to really then understand how to respond to those highest priority needs. Those are some other examples. The next idea that we wanted to share is kind of a little bit like a different take on partnership. We call it co-design. This would be a collaborative facilitation and planning process that centers those most impacted to generate ideas and further develop innovative responses. So just to kind of distinguish this a little bit from our partnership idea, this would be, you know, getting together to build new programs or new processes or activities together with collaborative processes. Those could include community members or potential partners. And you can work in lots of different ways to co-design a response to an issue. Have any of you all experienced that, done kind of co-design work, or have any suggestions for how you might co-design to support families around extreme heat?
I've seen it done in the community cafe model. And I think, you know, you could integrate an intentional plan to continue to revisit and build out based off of ideas, and kind of have that participatory option to vote, to choose, you know, and kind of elevate ideas to the top and then continue to build them out together with continued, you know, meeting of those spaces.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I love the continuous improvement that you're sort of weaving through that as well, to kind of continue to learn and to improve the responses as the environment changes. Yeah, thanks, Hannah. I love that. Yeah, we're doing this right now, the kind of brainstorming across partners. Brainstorming can be a very fun way to do co-design work or to get it started. Well, once you've spent some time on potentially co-design or partnership work or community engagement and listening sessions, there's other pieces that the Innovation Fund can support that help with implementation, thinking about implementation. So in our next slide, I think we show an example of that. We call it small scale implementation, or also known as piloting. So this is where you try out or test an idea with the goal of learning through doing. And I think some folks mentioned piloting some ideas earlier in the session as well. So thinking about ways to reach families, maybe through different modalities, or other ways to try to cool the provide people with options for cooling outdoor spaces. Are there any other kind of pilot type ideas that you might have?
I think whatever we are already doing in our program, introduce another idea to test it out if that idea is going to work in the program or not will also help. So that's how you could test it out, whether cafe model works or a focus group model works, so, or integrating those two together and do something third one, you can call it, community pilot program, and then, kind of combine those two, cafe and focus group model, and then take the community's input uh, that already exists, that could in fact work as well, I think.
Yeah, there's lots of different models that you can try and then pause and learn to see what worked well and what might not have worked as expected.
Yes, I see a few folks shared in the chat. UN shared, start with a small area and do more intensive co-design to find what works best. And a couple of good options. Sorry, I'm gonna pronounce your name wrong. How you want to attempt? But the other response was to add to what was said before, the opportunity for various sectors within human services to come together in brainstorming forum like this, coming from different disciplines lens, will allow for growth and innovation. Yes, absolutely. Using different people from different backgrounds and experiences. Some of the examples, if we could share one example that we thought of, in partnership with like local parks, community centered and libraries, pilot like a hot day family programming to provide safe family-friendly cooling spaces. So that could be like an idea of a little pilot.
I was also thinking like partnering within your community, taking all religious organizations uh, without any religion tag with it, and partnering them, saying that this, if our community needs anything, this is the resource that they could go to, so partnering with the other, like the Gurudwara, the temple, the church, the other organizations without their tags, but letting the community know that there are this resource that is available, like do an outreach program within your community to reach out to different folks. If if they need resources, so partnering with different sub-organizations, especially when you talk with Indian community, we speak many languages, right? So within our community, we always do outreach with, for example, people who speak Telugu or people who speak Marathi or people who speak Tamil or Kannada or all the other regional languages and partnering with them on whole. We do that already, but in the extreme, let them know whether the resources are available. It'll like do an extensive outreach program to
Thank you. To like reach more people, like especially people that are more isolated or are not in like the main.
right. Or
Covered, yeah.
there is a constant flow of immigrants that come in, and so that's why we have to kind of constantly do outreach. So to be able to reach out to the new as well as the old that are not aware of the facilities or the resources.
Absolutely. Focusing on outreach. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Sucheta. One thing that just I wanted to mention about that piece is that the what you were talking about with like a communications campaign or outreach campaign is that then pairing that, the Innovation Fund can help you pair that with collecting caregiver feedback to clarify and understand the impact of your work and then make little tweaks. So that's something that I know organizations don't always have capacity to support. And so often a lot of the piloting and learning is really just informal and not resourced. So this is something that the Innovation Fund can help with. And then there's also a couple of other examples we wanted to share quickly before we move into the rest of the RFP process. One other thing that the Innovation Fund can support is sharing success stories, and that can be helpful for your organization. If you're sharing your own success story, that can help you kind of clarify what the story is and the journey along the way. You can use that to gain more resources or to think about how you might want to scale your own work. And then it can also be a huge contribution to the larger community so that other organizations can think about how they might scale your innovation or scale the innovation in a way that meets the unique needs of their community or a different group or some different kind of adapt it in different ways for other folks. So that's another thing that the Innovation Fund can support. And then the last one that we wanted to share was around infrastructure and capacity development. So that's focused one-time support that builds organizational potential to sustain or advance community-led innovation. We had a couple of examples of that one. One could be sending some staff to a conference to learn more about innovative approaches to respond to extreme heat, for example. That's just keeping with our extreme heat example. Or another example could be a group of Latinx caregivers leading family-centered solutions to climate change, work with a partner to gain first-time fiscal sponsorship to further their organizational sustainability and so that they can do maybe a bigger strategic plan. So I want to make sure that I pass this on to Hannah. So you all had so many great ideas. We really appreciate that. And hopefully this was a helpful way to just kind of think about all the different things that you could do with the Innovation Fund. But I'll pass it to Hannah to kind of give you a little bit more of the details about how this will work.
Thanks, Alessandra. So along with sharing kind of the vision for what the Innovation Fund could support, also wanted to mention certain things that are out of that scope of work. So pieces that would not be supported through the Innovation Fund include any ongoing or existing direct services or ongoing operating expenses. So if you recall, I think this is really rooted in the fact that this strategy is sitting outside of direct services. This is really about building capacity. And so we see this space of focusing on building our capacity to innovate. So that's why these types of partnership building, exploration, coming up with ideas, testing out new ideas is really, we view as sort of like building capacity in this space. Another piece is that our funds through Best Starts for Kids can't be used for specific political campaigns or state lobbying. And we put that in there because we do hope that folks can think expansively beyond programming, to think about what types of policy change might address these emerging needs or issues that folks are experiencing, to think cross-sector and really outside of the box and kind of in between of maybe where other Best Start strategies are focused, but did want to highlight that sort of restriction there. Okay, it's just to kind of give a little bit more information about the proposal RFP overall and this funding opportunity. To summarize, again, the goal is really to advance community-led innovation and responsive anti-racist approaches that center communities and families in King County most impacted by disparities. And those types of activities that we just, that Alessandra and Nessa just kind of walked through with you are the types of examples, though don't necessarily need to be limited to that. The funding available is up to $900,000 over the course of 2 years. When we initially did some input around this opportunity, folks said we want it to be responsive, so we've kind of left this open across a 2-year period for as needs change and our sort of the context in which we're operating changes, that this work can be really responsive to the needs seen there. The funding request limits are up to $30,000 for most projects, with the exception of any project that is proposing to test a small scale implementation or pilot activity where you're actually might be providing some form of direct services or implementing work in the community and learning about it. We recognize that that might need a higher budget, so that can be up to $50,000. Overall, based off of the funding available, anticipate up to 20 awards across that 2-year period. Some of the projects and activities might be shorter term, depending on what your folks are interested in doing, and some might be up to a year long, but that's going to be pretty flexible based off of the proposals. And then wanted to note that our consultants with the innovation supports team, so folks like Nasra and Alessandra, are available to support any kind of initial thinking around potential proposals, and as well as proposal assistance is available for this opportunity. And as well as language access is always available as well. So I did want to highlight also the language access folks are able to, this will be available more in the RFP, and we will have an info session later, but wanted to highlight that piece as well. Okay. Really quickly, because I want to give space for questions before if anybody needs to hop off at 2. Just an overview of the first round of submissions. There will be subsequent rounds across the 2-year period, but this opportunity will open next week on Monday. There'll be this is the open house, but there'll be an info session later in March that gets into more of the details around kind of the application and the review process. The first deadline is May 9th. And then this is sort of the timeline of how things would get rolling with the review, kind of the pre-contract meetings, and then with activities to start as early as August. Great. So I know that last part went kind of quickly, but did want to give some space if anybody had questions before you might need to hop to the other session.
Hi, Hannah. So I have a question. So is it going to support ongoing or existing direct services or like,
Yeah, great question, Shusecha. So this opportunity is for the types of activities that we went through today, and that would be outside of existing direct service activities or ongoing
it is
operating.
not for past recipients of Innovation Fund?
No. Well, I mean, it's open to past recipients, but this would be for sort of new work or building the capacity of new ideas that you're seeing that meet a new emerging need.
Oh, it has to be completely new innovation. Uh,
Yes. Yeah, it can certainly build upon existing work. I think that was given as an example to test something within the context of current services, but it would be for something new to build the capacity for our understanding and knowledge of new ways of supporting families or creating change.
that would be good too, because then we can, we've learned innovation funds in past, like it has been many years, it has been few years now. And so to learn more with the new members, like, with in our team. So just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So Sucheta is mentioning there was a past Prenatal to 5 Innovation Fund many years ago. This is a sort of a new version of that. There's a question around the budget. Yes, so these would be like projects with the types of activities that were mentioned. So the proposal can really vary. The up to amount for any of the example of activities would be up to 30,000 unless you're implementing. So proposing to implement a small scale pilot. So for those types of proposals, folks could request 50,000. The total amount would be up to a year long for any given project. And it would be one award per organization. These are all also details that will be available in the RFP. I know for the open house, we just wanted to kind of share sort of basic examples and give you all a heads up around what this is about. And then on March 27th, even if you join today, I really encourage you to join that info session, which will get more into kind of the details of some of the contracting pieces or the application review. So March 10th, that application and RFP will be available. There should be a blog post that comes out. Yeah, Tasha, some of the example activities. So these were things like partnership building. One of them was like community engagement and listening to understand the challenge and learn more about how to creatively respond, connecting across different sectors to learn how to best meet community needs. Those are just some examples within those categories. And the types of projects that were in the scope of work will definitely be highlighted, as well as the same example with some with the extreme heat example will be kind of listed in the RFP itself. So you can kind of see those written out. And as well as, I'm not sure if they'll share the slide deck. I'd be happy to share it back with folks today, but the recording will be shared too. So if you wanted to review those activities, that'll be made available. Francois, did you have a question? I see a hand.
Yes, yes, thank you, Hannah. And yeah, I don't know, you kind of respond to what I wanted to ask about partnership building. Let's say two organizations want to work together in partnership. So how will the budget looks like? Is it gonna be the same as one organization trying to apply on its own, or is it gonna be a little bigger because it's two organizations come together?
Yeah, that's a great question. We are definitely encouraging folks to apply in partnership or to have partnership as part of their project proposal. The budget limitations would be the same. And then, so as part of the application, you would submit a budget proposal. So in terms of the partnership itself and how the budget's allocated, that would be up to the applicants or proposers to decide.
Okay, thank you.
And Laura asks about an announcement if you attended this one. I'd be happy to take the list of folks that registered and send a direct email with the RFP once it's released. I can certainly commit to doing that. And again, as I mentioned, there should be a blog post that you'll be able to see too.
Thank you. See y'all.
Thanks. And then actually, if you want to stay, I don't know if there's a QR code here too, if you want to stay up to date on other opportunities that you can kind of, I think you can maybe sign up at that. I'm not sure. Yeah, subscribe for any updates there. And I know you all, many of you might be hopping off to the other session. If you want to take a minute to take a breather before that starts, that's great. If you do want to hang on, we did have another activity to kind of move further into giving some ideas on building connections to think about planning for a potential proposal. But again, we'll do a similar activity and provide that at the info session as well. So thanks,
So,
Laura. The information session's on March 27th. It'll be available hybrid, so in person or online from 10 to 11:30. Thank you all.
What is the next section, next session, and how do we get on to that?
Yeah, once the RFP is released, there is a registration link within that for the information session. How about in the email that I send out, I can also make that, I can pull that out into the email with the registration link so that if you want to join on March 27th, I'll make that an easy way to get in there.
Hannah, quick question. Is the budget for 1 year or 2 year?
The budget is for, so the contracts are up to 1 year. But it will really depend on like what your proposal is. So if maybe somebody just wants to do partnership building and a kind of an exploration, maybe you think that only needs 6 months, for example, based off of the budget as well, or do you recognize these are smaller grants, right? So it might not be necessary for a $30,000 grant to last a whole year, depending on what you're doing. So a lot of that will really be based off of what you would like to do.
So where is the link for that Hannah has?
Yeah, so as I was saying, the timeline would be kind of really guided by you and your proposal, and then some of the conversations after that can kind of work through the specifics. Thanks, Cindy. Awesome. Thanks all. I'll just do a quick, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording.